The stillness that scared every empire across the galaxy. Dr. John Carter sat in the small observation room of the Deep Space Listening Post. The room smelled faintly of recycled air and electronics. Outside the windows, the stars stretched endlessly, glittering like tiny diamonds in the black ocean of space. John had spent years studying signals from distant systems, listening for anything unusual, anything alive beyond human colonies. Most of the time, there was only static, weak signals from distant suns or the occasional burst of data from an alien probe. Today, however, something felt different. On the main screen, a map of the sector blinked in soft green light. The stars in one region seemed dimmer. Not physically dimmer, but the normal background radiation, the hum of space, was gone. John frowned. He zoomed in. "Lisa," he called over the comms, "you need to see this." Lisa Grant came through the narrow doorway, her boots clicking against the metal floor. She was a human intelligence officer assigned to monitor unusual signals and alien activity. Her hair was tied back in a simple braid, and her eyes were sharp, always scanning for hidden meaning. "What is it?" she asked, moving to stand beside him. John pointed at the screen. "This sector, it's dead. Absolute silence. No subspace chatter, no radiation echoes, no quantum noise, nothing. It's as if it's missing." Lisa leaned closer, eyes narrowing. "Missing? That doesn't make sense. Nothing in space just disappears." "Exactly," John said. "And it's not just one system, it's spreading." Lisa stared at the screen for several minutes, her mind racing. "Could it be a sensor failure?" John shook his head. "I've checked everything. The probes are fine. All instruments are working. And the readings from nearby systems show the same thing. It's real." Lisa ran a hand through her hair. "Then what is it?" John did not answer immediately. He did not have an answer. In all his years of studying space, he had never seen anything like this. It was impossible. Meanwhile, in distant corners of the galaxy, the alien empires noticed too. Their scientists, soldiers, and leaders all began to whisper about the strange phenomenon. Ships traveling near the sector reported a sudden drop in power. Communications were lost. No probe returned. Some systems were cut off from the galaxy entirely. Panic began to spread quietly but steadily. Back on the listening post, John and Lisa continued their work. They sent a small probe into the edge of the silent zone. Normally, it would transmit data back instantly. This time, nothing came, not a single byte of information. The probe did not even report its own destruction. It simply ceased to exist. Lisa rubbed her temples. "It's like something is swallowing everything. But why?" John shook his head again. "I don't know. But whatever it is, it's not something we can fight with weapons. This isn't an attack we can see or shoot at. It's quiet." They spent hours analyzing the data. The silence zone was expanding, slowly at first, then faster than anyone could have imagined. Systems that had once been lively and full of activity now lay empty. Entire star clusters were swallowed. It was as if the galaxy itself had a heartbeat and part of it had suddenly stopped. Lisa's communicator beeped. It was the command center on Earth. "Report, Carter," a voice said. "What's happening in Sector 7G? John paused. "Ma'am, it's quiet, too quiet. Signals are disappearing. A probe we sent has vanished. We're not sure what we're dealing with, but it's spreading." There was silence on the other side. Then the voice returned, calm but tense. "Keep monitoring. Do not panic the public. Human colonies must remain unaware. If this is true, it could draw attention." John and Lisa exchanged a glance. Draw attention? From whom? The next morning, John walked along the narrow corridors of the station. The walls were white and smooth, the metal floor cold beneath his boots. He stopped at the observation deck, staring out at the endless stars. The thought that had been nagging him since yesterday pressed harder. This was not natural. Something had caused it, something intelligent, something waiting. Lisa joined him. She did not speak at first, just looked at the stars beside him. Then she said quietly, "Do you think anyone else knows about this?" John shook his head. "If they do, they're hiding it from us, from the galaxy. Humans are usually loud. We talk, we argue, we send probes everywhere. But this silence, it's different. Someone or something doesn't want to be seen." Lisa nodded slowly. "We need to find out what it is before anyone else notices. If the aliens find out first, they might panic. And panic in the galaxy could be deadly." Meanwhile, beyond the edges of the human listening post, alien empires were already moving. Fleets were ordered to investigate. Scientists worked frantically to understand the disappearance of entire systems. Messages were sent, demands were made, but the silence could not be reached. Every attempt to probe or communicate ended in failure. On Earth, governments quietly activated a plan that had been kept secret for decades. The Stillness Protocol, a classified program known only to a few, began mobilizing. It had been designed for just this kind of situation, when humanity faced an unknown force in space. At the station, John and Lisa did not yet know the full scope of what was coming. But they felt it in the air, in the quiet that surrounded their work. There was tension, a sense that everything about space could change. The probe they sent the night before reappeared unexpectedly, drifting at the edge of the silence zone. Its sensors had been wiped clean. All data lost, but there was something else, an imprint of a pattern, a faint signal that seemed familiar. John studied it with growing unease. "Lisa," he said, "look at this. The pattern, it's like a message, but not in any language I know, and it's old, very old." Lisa leaned closer. "Old? How old?" "I don't know. Older than any human record, older than anything we've ever seen from the stars. It feels alive." The two stared at the glowing lines of data. The pattern pulsed faintly, almost like a heartbeat. The silence beyond the probe had a rhythm, a slow, unstoppable motion. It was as if the galaxy itself had paused, holding its breath. Night fell on the station, though in space, night was just a rotation of systems and the soft blinking of distant stars. John sat alone, staring at the endless black. The thought that would not leave him: humans were not the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. There was something older, quieter, and far more powerful out there, and humanity had only just noticed it. Lisa joined him at the window, her expression serious. "Do you think it's dangerous?" John shook his head slowly. "I don't think we can even measure danger yet. This, stillness, it's not just a force, it's a presence, and it's watching, waiting. We've never encountered anything like it." For the first time in decades of exploring the stars, John felt fear. Not for himself, but for the galaxy. For the empires that believed they were strong, for the civilizations that thought they could fight anything. The silence did not roar, it did not attack, it simply existed, and that was enough to terrify everyone who knew of it. In the days that followed, the silence zone grew. Human stations on the borders of explored space reported sudden communication failures. Ships vanished. Probes disappeared, and yet humans on Earth continued their daily lives, unaware of the threat inching closer. John and Lisa worked tirelessly, analyzing every fragment of data, every faint signal. But the more they learned, the more questions arose. The pattern from the lost probe hinted at intelligence, at planning, at intent. And the thought that shook John to his core returned again and again. If something so quiet could erase entire systems, what could it do if it chose to act? Lisa looked at him, eyes wide. "We're not ready for this. None of us are," John nodded. "No, we have to understand it first. We have to be ready, or the galaxy will never forgive us for ignoring it." And somewhere in the silence beyond the stars, the presence waited, pulsing faintly, as though it knew humans had noticed. It did not move. It did not attack. It simply existed. And that was enough. After days of studying the strange silence, John Carter and Lisa Grant realized that the signals were more than just empty space. There was something hidden in the stillness, something that seemed to react to humans. They called in a team to investigate further. Alex Rivera, a young human engineer with quick hands and a sharper mind, joined the mission. He had worked on experimental probes before and had a way of fixing technology others could not. Alongside him was Maya Brooks, a xenolinguist who studied alien languages and patterns. Maya had always believed that intelligence left traces, even in silence, and she thought the missing systems might be trying to communicate. The team prepared a small, fast vessel for the mission. It was not a warship, only a research craft equipped with advanced sensors and a special neural interface. This interface allowed a human operator to connect directly with the probe, sending and receiving information almost as if thinking. The ship left the station quietly, slipping past distant patrols and the watchful eyes of alien empires. They headed into the edge of the silence zone, where the light from distant stars seemed to flicker and die. Inside the ship, Alex checked the instruments. "Nothing yet," he said, tapping on the console. "Just the usual static at the borders." Maya studied the data on another screen. "Look at this," she said. "The pattern from the lost probe is repeating. It's faint, but it's there, and it's forming shapes, symbols, but not any symbols we recognize." John leaned over. "Could it be a language?" Maya shook her head slowly. Not exactly. It's older than any known language. It doesn't have letters or words. It's more like memory. Memory, John frowned. Memory of what? Maya looked thoughtful. I don't know, but it's responding to us. I can feel it like it's waiting for something or someone. The ship moved deeper into the zone. Outside, stars disappeared one by one, swallowed by the void. It was not dark exactly, more like the light itself had stopped moving. The crew felt the silence pressing against them, not physically, but in a way that made their thoughts louder. Every worry, every fear seemed amplified. Suddenly, the ship's instruments began to flare. A ghostly structure appeared on the screens. It was enormous, made of geometric shapes that twisted impossibly in space. It seemed alive and yet completely still. Alex whispered, "Is that real?" John shook his head. "I don't know, but it's not on any star chart. It's ancient." Maya stared at the shapes, her hands trembling. "It's responding to me. The interface, it's pulling me in. I can see flashes of images, cities, ships, people, but they're not human, not as we know humans, and yet somehow they are." John frowned. "What do you mean?" Maya took a deep breath. "It's showing me history, a civilization older than any known in the galaxy. Humans, but not the humans we are. They look like us, but stronger, faster, smarter, and they ruled the galaxy once." John and Alex exchanged shocked looks. "You're saying humanity wasn't always small and weak?" John asked. Maya nodded. "Yes, we were once the dominant force, but something happened. We disappeared, or chose to disappear, and left this system, this silence, as a guardian." Alex rubbed his eyes. "So all this, the quiet, the missing systems, it's us, or from us?" Maya's voice was low. "From our ancestors, this silence is alive. It's ancient technology that reacts to us. It protects or punishes. I don't know which yet." John felt a chill. "If the aliens find out about this, they'll think we're trying to take over again." Maya nodded. "That's why we have to understand it first, before anyone else sees it." The ship moved closer to the structure. Outside, stars vanished completely, leaving a black void that seemed to have depth, like falling forever. The crew felt weightless, not from gravity, but from the sense of being inside something vast and alive. Suddenly, the interface reacted strongly. Maya's eyes widened. "It's connecting to me, no, to all of us. I can see memories, cities built from light, ships faster than thought, battles fought with energy we cannot imagine. And then the choice. Humanity stopped. We erased ourselves from the galaxy to avoid destroying everything." John leaned closer. "We chose to disappear?" Maya nodded. "Yes, our ancestors were too powerful. They could have ruled everything, but they saw what power could do. So they left this silence to pause the galaxy in case it needed time to learn." Alex swallowed hard. "So the silence is not a weapon, exactly. It's a warning." Maya shook her head. "More than a warning, it's a stop, a pause. If a civilization becomes too dangerous, it activates. It can erase fleets, systems, civilizations, and only humans can control it." John stared at the black structure outside. "We're standing in the middle of something that could end the galaxy, and it's ours or was ours." The ship drifted closer. The structure seemed to react, lights pulsing faintly in response to their presence. Suddenly, a message appeared inside the interface, not words, but feelings. A sense of caution, of responsibility, and of immense power. Maya whispered, "It's telling us to be careful, to not repeat the mistakes of our ancestors." John nodded. "Then we have to make a choice. Study it, understand it, and keep it from falling into the wrong hands." Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected movement. Not physical, but patterns in the silence like waves. Something else was approaching. Alien fleets. They had detected the disappearance of systems and were coming to investigate. Alex swore under his breath. "They'll panic. They'll think we're behind this." John's voice was calm but tense. "Then we need to hide, use the silence as cover. The aliens do not understand it. They cannot sense it. Only humans, only us can." Maya focused on the interface again. "It's showing me a path, a way to move through the silence without being noticed. But it's not safe. If we make a mistake, we'll be erased." John nodded. "We take the risk. We have to know the truth, and we have to keep the galaxy from destroying itself." The ship followed the path through the silent void. Stars reappeared slowly on the other side, distant suns blinking like eyes opening after a long sleep. The alien fleets had not followed. They were stopped by the edges of the zone, unable to penetrate the silence. Alex let out a sigh of relief. "That was too close." Maya shook her head. "Too close for them, not for us. We've seen enough, and we know what the silence can do. We've only scratched the surface." John looked at the black structure one last time. "We need to report this carefully. Humanity has more power than anyone believes, and now we know why. But the galaxy cannot know yet, not until we understand it fully. Back at the station, the team began the long process of studying the data they had collected. The patterns from the probe, the memories from the interface, and the strange energy pulses from the structure all hinted at something much older than humans, much older than any known civilization. They realized that humans were not just a small species trying to survive. They were descendants of something that had once ruled the stars, and the silence was a reminder of what they could be and what they must not become. Across the galaxy, alien empires continued to worry about the missing systems, sending fleets and probes into the void. But the silence repelled them all, untouched and impossible to measure. They began to whisper rumors about the humans. Some feared them, some respected them, and some started to wonder if humanity was far more dangerous than anyone had thought. At the station, John and Lisa worked quietly, preparing for what would come next. They had uncovered only a fraction of the truth, and the questions they had were heavier than any starship. What had caused humanity to stop ruling the galaxy? Why had they chosen to erase themselves? And most importantly, what would happen if the silence was activated again, now that humans were awake and aware of it? The stillness that swallowed entire star systems was not just a mystery. It was a warning. And humanity was at the center of it. John stared at the stars beyond the observation window. Somewhere in that darkness, something ancient and powerful waited. It had been silent for millions of years. And now it had noticed that humanity was awake again. The galaxy would never be the same. News of the silence zone began to leak slowly. Not to the public, but between alien empires. Ships that had ventured too close vanished. Entire star systems stopped responding. Messages sent to the edges of the zone returned empty, as if swallowed by nothing. In the council chambers of the Zorath Empire, the leaders argued loudly. Admiral Kalen, a tall, armored officer, slammed his fist on the table. "We cannot allow humans to control this. They are weak, they are small, but they are hiding something dangerous." Scientist Alara, sitting beside him, shook her head. "You do not understand. This is not a weapon they are using. Whatever is in that void, it is older than your entire empire. And it responds to humans. Not you, not me, only humans." Kalen leaned forward, anger in his voice. "Then they must be stopped. They could be planning conquest." Alara's eyes were calm. "They are not planning conquest. They have not attacked. They are afraid, cautious. And yet the rest of the galaxy fears them because of what they might do. The humans are quiet, and quiet is frightening." Meanwhile, on the human research station, John Carter and Lisa Grant worked nonstop. They studied every probe, every pulse of energy, and every pattern from the silent zone. Alex Rivera and Maya Brooks continued their work on the interface. Maya had learned to feel the rhythm of the silence. She could almost understand it. It was not aggressive, but it was protective, ancient, and wise. It remembered humanity's past. It remembered the choice humans had made millions of years ago. John studied the readings with a mixture of awe and fear. If the aliens knew what this was, they would attack us before asking questions. They would not wait, and they would not understand. Lisa nodded. "They already suspect something. Some fleets are moving toward the zone. They are cautious, but fear drives them. Fear is dangerous." Alex frowned. "Fear always is, but how do we stop them from panicking?" John sighed. "We can't. All we can do is make sure they never reach the zone, not until we understand it ourselves. We are the only ones who can control it, and maybe the only ones who can survive it." As the days passed, the silence expanded further. Alien fleets came close, scanning the edges, trying to understand why probes were lost. Some of their most advanced ships disappeared, stopped in the void as if invisible walls had appeared. Others reported strange visions in the void, images of cities made of light, of people who looked human but moved and thought faster than anything alive today. Back on the station, Maya studied the interface again. She could see fragments of memory from the ancient humans, the humans who had once ruled the galaxy. She saw fleets moving faster than thought, civilizations rising and falling, energy weapons that could destroy planets in seconds. And then she saw the choice. Humanity had paused itself, erased most of its presence to prevent destruction. John, watching her reaction, felt a chill. "So our ancestors stopped themselves from conquering the galaxy?" Maya nodded slowly. "Yes, they chose restraint. They left the silence behind as a warning, as a barrier. If civilizations became too dangerous, it would activate, and it only responds to humans. Alex shook his head. That means if someone else tried to control it, the galaxy could be destroyed. Lisa said quietly, and the aliens don't understand that. To them, we are the most dangerous beings alive. They don't know why we are quiet, but they know we could do more than anyone else. Across the galaxy, rumors began to spread. Some empires whispered that humans were hiding ancient technology, weapons older than the stars. Others began to fear them as gods, beings capable of stopping entire star systems. Some empires sent spies to learn more, only to vanish at the edge of the silent zone. On the human station, John realized that the aliens were close to discovering the truth. He gathered the team. "They will find out soon," he said. "We cannot let panic reach the galaxy. We need to control this information. We need to act before they act." Maya nodded. "The silence will protect us for now, but only temporarily. It is not infinite. It waits for us to choose. It waits for humans to act." Alex frowned. "Choose what? What do we choose?" John's eyes were steady. "Whether to use it or not. Whether to let the galaxy continue knowing what could happen, or to let it stop everything." The choice was enormous. The silence was not a weapon in the normal sense. It could erase fleets, entire systems, even civilizations, and only humans could control it. That made them both powerful and responsible. In the distance, alien fleets hesitated at the edge of the zone. Ships scanned, probed, and fired warning signals, but each attempt failed. Systems shut down. Sensors stopped working. And in some ships, crews reported strange visions, humans from long ago, standing in shining cities looking at them with calm eyes. Admiral Kalen of the Zorath Empire ordered his fleets to retreat slightly. Fear had taken hold. He did not understand the silence. He only knew humans were involved, and that was enough. On the human station, Lisa spoke quietly to John. "They are beginning to see us differently. Some will worship us. Some will fear us. Some will try to destroy us before they are destroyed themselves." John nodded. "We cannot fight them all, but we do not need to. The silence is enough. It is ancient, it is powerful, and it will keep them at bay, for now." Maya leaned back from the interface. "I can feel it. The silence knows we are awake. It is testing us. It is showing us our history and asking whether we are ready to take responsibility." Alex frowned. "And if we fail, if we make the wrong choice?" Maya's eyes were serious. "Then the galaxy suffers. The silence will act as it was designed. It does not forgive. It does not wait. And it only responds to humans." John thought of the galaxy beyond the station, full of civilizations unaware of the threat they were under. They lived, they fought, they conquered, thinking humans were weak and small. And yet the quiet ones, humans, held the key to survival or destruction. Lisa said softly, "We are not heroes yet. We are only guardians, and guardians must be careful." The team worked day and night, analyzing every pattern, every pulse, every memory that came from the ancient interface. They discovered that the silence could move, expand, and even retract. It was not stationary. It could defend, observe, and punish. It had waited millions of years for the right moment. The galaxy had grown noisy again, full of wars and trade and politics. The ancient silence had been triggered slowly by human expansion and alien interference. The humans who had once ruled the stars had chosen restraint. Now their descendants faced the same challenge, to remain restrained or let power loose. Across the galaxy, alien leaders continued to argue and fear. Some called for fleets to attack the humans, hoping to end the threat before it grew. Others whispered among themselves, trying to learn more, but they were blocked by the edges of the silent zone. Fear was growing, and fear was dangerous. On the station, John, Lisa, Alex, and Maya realized something even more terrifying. The silence was not just reacting to them, it was anticipating. Every choice, every thought, every movement of the crew was sensed by the ancient presence. It waited for humans to act wisely or foolishly. Maya whispered, "It knows we are awake. It knows we understand. And it waits for us to prove we can control ourselves." John nodded. "If we fail, it does not matter who is strong, who has fleets, or who has weapons. The silence will act, and the galaxy will learn what fear really is." The team worked in silence, speaking only when necessary. Every decision mattered. Every step in the void, every probe sent into the zone, every reading they recorded could determine the fate of countless civilizations. And outside the station, the galaxy waited. Alien empires feared the humans they once considered insignificant. They did not know the full truth, but instinct told them the humans were dangerous. They were quiet, and quiet was frightening. John stared at the screen, watching the edges of the silence zone. "The galaxy does not understand us," he said quietly, "and maybe it never will. But we must understand ourselves before anyone else does." Maya added, "And then we must decide. Do we keep the silence as it is, as a warning, or do we let it expand, enforcing what our ancestors once chose?" Alex shivered. "Either way, someone is going to be scared." "Maybe everyone," John nodded. "That is the truth of power. Sometimes it is not the loudest who are the strongest. Sometimes it is the quiet, the patient, the ones who wait and choose wisely." And somewhere in the darkness beyond the edges of the known galaxy, the ancient presence pulsed faintly, as if listening, as if judging. It had waited millions of years, and now it had found the humans who could understand it again. The galaxy did not know it yet, but humanity had awakened. And the quiet ones would soon remind every empire across the stars why silence could be more terrifying than any weapon. The human team on the station had spent weeks studying the silence. John Carter, Lisa Grant, Alex Rivera, and Maya Brooks had learned more than anyone else in the galaxy. They knew the truth. The silence was alive, ancient, and only humans could control it. It had been created millions of years ago by humans who once ruled the stars. They had stopped themselves, erased their power, and left the silence as a reminder of what could happen if civilizations grew too dangerous. Now, the descendants of those humans faced the same choice. They could remain cautious, restrained, and careful, or they could unleash a force that could stop the galaxy in an instant. Maya sat at the neural interface, her eyes closed. She could feel the presence pulsing gently like a heartbeat. It was not angry. It was not cruel. It was waiting, watching, and listening. John stood beside her, his hands resting on the edge of the console. "Can you communicate with it?" he asked. Maya shook her head slowly. "Not exactly. It does not speak in words. It shows me images, feelings, memories." "The humans who created it wanted us to see what we could be, to remember who we are," Alex frowned. "And what do you see?" Maya's voice was soft, almost a whisper. "I see our past, cities made of light, ships faster than thought, energy that could destroy planets in seconds. And then the choice. Humanity stopped. We erased ourselves to prevent destruction, and now we must decide again." Lisa stepped closer. "What does it want us to do?" Maya opened her eyes. "It wants to know if we are ready, if we are responsible. If we can hold power without letting it destroy the galaxy." John felt a chill. "And if we fail?" Maya shook her head. "If we fail, the silence will act. It will stop everything. Fleets, systems, entire civilizations. It does not forgive. It only waits for humans to prove themselves." Outside the station, alien empires continued to watch. Some fleets hovered at the edge of the silence, too afraid to enter. Some leaders whispered rumors about humans, calling them gods or monsters. Fear had spread faster than any fleet could travel. Every empire that had once ignored humanity now regarded them with respect and terror. On the station, the team worked on a plan. They could not let panic spread. They could not let the alien empires try to attack or control the silence. They had to act carefully, quietly, and wisely. John addressed the team. "We need to show the galaxy that we are responsible, that humans do not seek power to destroy. That the silence is a guardian, not a weapon for conquest." Alex looked doubtful. "And how do we do that? The aliens will not listen, they only see what they fear." Lisa nodded. "We cannot make them understand fully, but we can prevent mistakes. We can control the silence, keep it in check, and show restraint. That is enough for now." Maya returned to the interface. She placed her hands on the neural sensors and closed her eyes. The presence pulsed faster now, like a heartbeat growing stronger. It seemed aware of the alien fleets waiting beyond the void. It seemed aware of humans who could choose wisely or foolishly. She felt a memory flash through her mind. A human fleet, millions of years ago, had moved too fast, destroyed too much. The creators of the silence had watched, learned, and then intervened. They had paused the galaxy to prevent extinction. Maya opened her eyes. "It remembers our ancestors," she said, "and it is asking us to prove we are different. That we can hold power without using it to harm others." John nodded. "Then we prove it. We contain the silence. We do not expand it. We do not use it as a weapon. We only act as guardians. That is our choice." Alex leaned back in his chair. "It feels impossible. We are so small compared to it, but we are human, and humans are patient. Humans can choose restraint when no one else can." Lisa smiled faintly. "Then we wait, we watch, and we protect." For the next few days, the team monitored the silence. They sent probes carefully, only testing the edges of the zone. They recorded patterns, studied the pulses, and noted every reaction. Slowly, they learned to move through the void without triggering it unnecessarily. Alien fleets continued to hover at the edges, watching, waiting, afraid. Some had sent small scout ships only to lose contact within hours. Some had begun to worship humans as gods. Others prepared for war, knowing that even the strongest fleets could not touch the silence. On the station, Maya felt a strange connection to the ancient presence. It was calm now, like a river waiting for the right moment to flow. It showed her visions of humans long ago, of cities bright as stars, of ships moving like comets, and then of humans stopping themselves. They left everything behind, Maya whispered, and they trusted the galaxy to continue without them, and now it trusts us to do the same. John looked at her. Then we continue the choice. We do not use the silence to destroy, we only use it to protect. And we show the galaxy that restraint is stronger than fear. Alex grinned faintly. We are the quiet ones, and the galaxy is about to learn why silence can be more powerful than any weapon. The days turned into weeks. The human team worked tirelessly, learning, studying, and understanding. They began to see patterns in the silence that no one else could. They discovered that the void could expand, contract, and even heal itself. Systems that had vanished could return if the silence chose. But only humans could guide it. Outside the zone, alien empires continued to struggle. Some fleets withdrew, realizing they could not fight it. Some leaders grew cautious, building defenses rather than attacking. Others tried to communicate with humans, sending messages of peace and caution. John and his team responded carefully. They revealed only enough to show restraint. They did not boast of power, nor did they threaten. They showed intelligence, patience, and caution. Slowly, the galaxy began to understand that humans were not reckless conquerors, but guardians of an ancient power. Maya felt the presence pulse stronger. She sensed approval, not in words, but in feeling. The silence had waited millions of years. And now it had found humans who could understand it. Humans who could control it without fear, without anger, without desire for power. John stood at the observation window, looking at the stars beyond the zone. The galaxy was quiet, but it was safe, for now. Humans had learned restraint. They had chosen to protect, not destroy. And the ancient presence waited patiently, knowing that one day humans might face choices even greater. Lisa came to stand beside him. "Do you think they will ever attack us?" she asked. John shook his head. "They may try, but now they know we are different. They fear us because of what we could do, but they respect us because we have chosen not to. That is enough for now," Alex smiled. "We've learned a lot, we've seen our past, and we've made a choice. We are guardians, not conquerors, and maybe that is the greatest power of all." Maya nodded. "The silence will continue to protect the galaxy, but it will only respond to humans. That makes us responsible, and responsibility is more powerful than any weapon." For the first time in months, the team felt relief. The silence had been tested, the alien empires had paused, and humans had proven themselves. The galaxy was safe, and humanity had risen, not as conquerors, but as quiet guardians. John looked out at the stars, thinking of the ancestors who had created the silence. They had made a choice millions of years ago. They had stopped themselves from conquering everything, and now their descendants had learned the same lesson. Lisa spoke softly. "We are not the strongest, we are not the fastest, we are not the loudest, but we are human, and sometimes that is enough." Alex added, "The galaxy will remember this, not as a story of war or destruction, but as a story of restraint, patience, and wisdom." Maya returned to the interface one last time. The presence pulsed gently. She felt a calm, steady energy. It was approval, it was peace, it was trust. Humans had awakened, and they had proven themselves. The galaxy beyond the zone began to breathe again. Fleets withdrew, messages of caution spread, and life continued in distant systems. Alien empires began to rethink their approach to humanity. They could no longer see humans as weak or small. They had learned in their own fearful way that the quiet ones could hold power beyond imagining, and that restraint could be more terrifying than any weapon. John, Lisa, Alex, and Maya watched from the station. They knew this was only the beginning. Humanity had awakened to a power that no other civilization could match, and the choices they made from now on would shape the galaxy for generations. But for the first time, they felt hope. The silence was no longer a threat. It was a guide, a reminder, and a guardian. and humans were ready to face it, patiently, wisely, and quietly. The stars beyond the station twinkled, innocent and bright, and somewhere in the darkness, the ancient presence pulsed softly, knowing that the quiet ones had learned the greatest lesson of all. The galaxy would never forget humanity again.